We are back at it. Welcome back to another Race Weekend Canada's F1 podcast, and we are here to discuss the Canadian Grand Prix. That's right. Oh, Canada! Darryl Timmers, Pro Racing Ontario, back in the building, and it feels good to be discussing F1 here in Canada after the Canadian Grand Prix.
Yes, long time coming, man. It was since 2019 since we've seen them here, so it was great to see them, and the Canadian Grand Prix didn't fail, that's for sure.
And the Canadians came out in droves. I think they said there was close to 350,000 people.
Yeah.
That came just in and around the F1 circuit this weekend. Always amazing to see. And you could just see the sport is growing and the enthusiasm was there. Now, with that being said, Max Verstappen wins the Canadian Grand Prix. And at this point, it looks like he has one hand firmly placed on that championship trophy. Question is, can Max be stopped?
Yeah, I think so. You know, Sainz, I think, could have done it if he didn't blow the last two laps. I think he was just there to battle him a little bit more. I think Max is on a high right now, so it is going to be hard to get him off his high horse, but I think, he can be stopped if the right things come around, and we see that the Red Bull, it's kind of not the most reliable at times.
Shaky! Them top two teams, they're shaky!
It's weird seeing that, seeing Perez go down so early in the race. I don't know, maybe if it was from that impact in qualifying that it might have, him trying to get to reverse and trying to get out of the car, and maybe that messed with it and they just couldn't check it over.
If you're Perez, first off, terrible qualifying, and then second off, going down with that DNF, and you're P2 in the championship. So how is he leaving Canada, and how is he going to try and pick himself up and get it back together before going to Silverstone?
Everyone has their bad races, and it's just how you bounce back. It's one of those things that if you let it dwell over you for the next race, it's going to affect you a lot. And at this point, I think Perez just has to realize, we have good ones, we have bad ones. This was a bad one. Let's bounce back and head to Silverstone. He shows he has pace. It's not like he's a slouch. I really do think that he's a really good teammate to Max. He's pushing Max to the limit. He's showing that he can support him as well as beat him. So I think right now he just has to realize, it was a bad weekend, dust it off, and head into the next weekend.
But let's talk about Carlos Sainz, because he really did need this weekend. A win would have been incredible for him. It looked like it might have been on the cards, but in all honesty, while I was watching the last 15 laps, I said, there's no way. Question is, when do you think he will get his first maiden win in Formula One? He's been a bridesmaid a few times,
a bunch of times now. Honestly, I thought he, in contrary, I thought he could have got Max. I thought, he had the pace. He chased him down. He was catching him before the last pit stop, before that safety car came out. He was faster than Max by half a second a lap. And then when they went on the same tires, it wasn't like Max, he had a bad start. It took him a little bit to get going after restart, and I think that's what cost him the race. He just couldn't get out of the hairpin. If he could get out of the hairpin, he would have passed him.
Which seemed to be the Achilles heel of Charles Leclerc as well. So let's discuss his race, his setup, the engine penalties.
In the end, I think it was a really good, race for Charles. He raced from the back. He came from, I think it was a good idea for them. At this point, you had a really bad race. You can't afford to have another bad race. You need to give him a fresh car. You need to give him a fresh power unit. I was kind of surprised that they didn't change everything at the beginning of the weekend, knowing that the motor was, a lot of stuff went through that motor. That motor was blowing a lot of smoke in the last race, and that usually means, oil and water and radiator fluid going through the engine at that point. And when you have all this stuff going through the engine, it's going through the turbo, it's going through all the, it's just not a good look for the engine when it blows up like that. I thought he was going to come through the pack a lot quicker. He was kind of I don't know, stuck behind a couple people.
Well, he got stuck behind Ocon for
he was behind
however
Ocon.
long. And kudos to Ocon, because he was racing similar to Max. When the pressure was on, he wasn't really making any mistakes. You know what I mean? The Leclerc thing is interesting, though, because like you said, I think a lot of people thought he was going to be able to slice through the pack, similar to Lewis in Brazil. But it just wasn't there for him. No. And then you can kind of see it, as we were talking about Sainz not being able to get off those corners. It almost looked like they trimmed down the Ferrari so much so that its strength, which is usually in the corners, was no longer the strength anymore. And he was struggling to get around Ocon. And if it wasn't for that Tsunoda safety car, which was wild. What the hell happened to Tsunoda right there? It was good entertainment near the end. It was just like, wait a second. A couple weeks ago, we were cracking on Latifi and that, but like, I don't know, man. This might take the cake.
That was something. Like, I don't know. Like the fact that he went into he left the pit so quick. And it wasn't like he had to beat anyone out of the pits to get in front of them for that safety. And it was like he was clear behind, he was clear in front. There was no reason to push that hard out of the pits.
It was a weird one. And but anyways, the safety car comes out. Not even the VSC. No, the safety car comes out. And if it wasn't for that, Leclerc finishes P5. But maybe not.
I think, Montreal is kind of one of those tracks where the DRS train kind of happens. It's a lot of long straightaways. And the double DRS zone on the front straightaway and the I guess that's back straightaway or the side straightaway, whatever you want to call that first straightaway.
Let's see what that is. It's like a mid-back straightaway.
Mid-back straightaway, whatever you want to call it, after the hairpin. It just didn't seem like they had the car, like you said, to get out of the corners, to get through the tight stuff where, when Sainz was even behind Max, it was like through the tight stuff, Max was pulling on them, and then down the straight, they weren't losing as much, right? So I think, like you said, they trimmed out the car a little bit more, and I think, maybe it wasn't something that they should have done to suit them, because Montreal does have some tight, fast corners, and I think the Ferrari could have kind of catered to that a little bit more if they kind of stuck to their roots.
Now, on the other side, as we move down the field, Mercedes. Mercedes has another strong weekend for Mercedes. Yes. And it sounds wild to say because they're not P1 and P2.
Yeah.
But the car this year hasn't been good. Since FP1, Lewis Hamilton was saying, this thing is undrivable.
Yeah.
Yet, come race day, Hamilton puts it P3 and Russell puts it P4. He continues his top 5 Mr. Consistency streak. And they just swap positions this week from last week.
Yep.
So, are they a threat at all in terms of constructors, or are they solidly locked down in P3? And could they, either Russell or Hamilton, win a race this season?
I think the win's going to come. I really do. I honestly do think that they have a car that, in the right circumstances and stuff like that can win. This was the biggest step in the right direction since the start of the season, in my eyes. I think... Russell was quick. If they didn't put slicks on him in qualifying, he would have been starting in the top 5, and I think that was one of the things.
But I love that, though.
I did. I loved it. I was loving that he tried it.
And the thing about it, he just needed to wait that split second to rotate the car.
And he just needed to chill in turn 1 and 2. It was the most soaked area.
It was
just like chill in the last corner and the first 2 corners, and then you would have been dry the rest of the way. What does he do?
I know, but who are we though? But honestly though, I loved it because I was like, look, because he got through turn 1.
He did.
And it was like turn 2.
Wow, it didn't look too bad. And then he turned in for 2 and it was like oh no.
Oh man, but the wins are coming.
I think so. And this is the most comfortable I've seen Lewis in the car. Even at the end of the weekend, he was saying over the radio, I think it's a great step in the right direction, guys. Let's keep pushing. Let's keep doing this, because in the end, the Mercedes wasn't like it was way off pace. It was 4 or 5 tenths off pace. For race pace wise, I think it was the best car.
But I think the Mercedes has the best, I don't want to say the best race car, but in race trim, it's more competitive than in quality.
Yes.
Right?
I agree.
Especially with the hard tires on, for whatever reason, right?
I totally agree. And you can see it because when once the tire, is not fresh and they all have 10, 15 laps on the tires and they're all dealing with these tires, you can see that the Mercedes is still keeping up with the Ferrari and the Red Bull. They're maybe 1 or 2 tenths off instead of halfway through the race. Lewis Hamilton had the fastest lap.
He did.
So he was going purple, and it wasn't just one lap. It was a couple laps that he was purple. Yeah, exactly. And you can see that it's coming to them now. The car is starting to take a stride, and I'm not saying that they're going to be championship contenders. I'm not saying that they're going to be battling for the top step, but I can see the wins coming, and we've seen an AlphaTauri win, we've seen an Alpine win, we've seen cars that are not supposed to be win races, but I think they were so far off at the beginning of the season that it took them this long to even get semi-close to them. And I think, with the Red Bull, right now, it's just a comfortable car to drive. It's a great car. They've designed it to be very, very, very fast on the straightaways. The corners there's still no slouch. They might not be the fastest in the tight stuff, but they are definitely a good car down the straight and in the tight stuff. So it's a great average car.
and they don't bounce at all.
No, they don't.
There's no porpoising or nothing in that car.
You can see it in the Ferrari. You can see it in every other car at some point. But
I know there's a lot of talk about Mercedes and porpoising, but based on the onboards, it looks like Ferrari specifically, Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
That car is all over the place on the straight.
Anything can happen. And all it takes, and this is part of the thing where I thought, Sainz was going to get in there and make a move because Max has everything to lose now. If Max crashes out, that's 25 points that he's going to lose to whoever's in second place that comes at him. So they've got to realize, Max is at risk. So let's put him in situations where he's not going to want to be there. He's not going to want to race me hard because if he crashes out, that's 25 points he's losing to the pack. One more race like that, and all of a sudden, everyone's tied with him again.
Right, and let's say Perez was to finish and get P3 yesterday.
Yeah.
And Max crashed out. Because,
exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. Max is right there, And they haven't taken any penalties yet. So, they're going to start taking penalties. They're going to start from the back sooner or later, and it's one of those things where you never really know if this championship is as good as his right now. And I really do think that, Leclerc and Sainz and all those guys are no slouch to the point where they know right now they have to win. They have to beat him.
You got Verstappen with the lead. You got Leclerc who wants to come back and make a point like, hey, it's not over yet. You got Checo looking for a bounce back. You got Sainz riding a high.
Yep.
Then you got Lewis riding a high off the podium.
Yep.
Going back to his home race.
Yeah. Same with Russell, man.
Same with Russell.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's six dogs in the fight. Now the Mercedes may not necessarily be in the fight, but we don't actually know.
Didn't you throw Norris and maybe Ricciardo in once in a while?
Well, listen, terrible weekend.
Terrible weekend.
Awful weekend for them. Like that.
Those pit stops were ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a couple other things. I want to big up Lance Stroll for putting it and getting it into the points at his home race.
Yes.
Although that Aston Martin was flying.
Yeah, it was good. It was
Friday and Saturday, and then Saturday qualifying.
That was it.
What the hell happened?
If you looked at it, I just think that they just couldn't adapt to the track with the car the way it was. They started to.
But they practiced in the rain too.
They did, but it was a drying track at that point, right? I just think that they just didn't know how to make the car work on a drying track
as a team, or the drivers. Because Seb, I don't know that I'm buying that from him.
Yeah, I think as a team, they just missed the setup. The car maybe they just went too soft or too stiff or something where the car just didn't give them the grip they needed. And you could see, they just couldn't put power down. It was just looked awful. Twitchy. Yeah, it just looked awful in the car. And they, when they're 3 seconds off the pace, 2.5 seconds off the pace in qualifying, something's wrong. And it's both of them. They're within a tenth of each other.
Yeah. It just went astray. Anyways, at least Lance was able to come up with a good result.
Yep.
P10 is a good result.
Got his
home
point.
Grand Prix. Yeah. Could have been much worse. He needed it.
Yeah.
And on the other side of things, we're looking at Alonso starting the race in P2 and then ultimately finishing in P9.
Yeah.
What the hell happened in his race?
I don't know. It was a very underwhelming performance. I didn't get it. I was excited to see him battle Max into turn 1. He didn't have an amazing start. He was being swallowed up by this by third, fourth row, the second row and the third row, and Max just kind of checked out for the first couple laps while he kind of held everyone up. I thought for sure he was going to have a really good performance, and when I started to see the first couple laps, I was like, this is not good.
Yeah, it was
when
underwhelming.
I saw Lewis pass him,
it was underwhelming.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for him to go wheel to wheel with Lewis, and it just didn't even... Because that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they ain't going to go at it.
They don't have a great relationship.
Yeah, Lewis just breezed, and I was just like, he ain't put up a fight against Lewis? Like, what is going on out there?
I don't know.
Yeah, underwhelmed, surprise.
Oh, well, the underwhelming, I'm going to say, is Mr. Alonso.
All right, fair enough.
I just don't get it. I don't understand why he wasn't able to just keep it at least in the top 5, but he was barely struggling to stay in the top 10. Yeah. And he started on the front row. To be such a high and to see him always start 15th, 16th and get into the top 6, 7, top 10.
And he's a veteran. He should know what to do with it. Yeah.
It was weird. It was just a weird situation for him. Overwhelmed. Honestly, I feel bad for him. I wanted Mick I wanted to keep Mick having a great race.
Bro,
like, I was loving it, and then all of a sudden the car broke, and I was like,
know, because he wasn't just in P10.
No, he was well
like
into the top 10.
P7.
And he was showing pace, and I was just like, no, he needed this so much.
Power unit problem?
Yeah, it's got to be
Ferrari,
right?
Man.
Another Ferrari, it's got to be. Like, I don't know. I feel like the Red Bulls are having gearbox issues, and the Ferraris are just having power
How
unit
nervous
issues.
are them Ferrari engineers right now?
I don't know.
Seriously, though.
Seriously bad. Like, seriously.
Is that bad?
It's bad.
Because
I think so.
Bottas, every weekend, is like, he don't get a session in because something's going on with the car.
Yep.
Right?
And Zhou kept saying how he was losing power. And then, you know...
Oh, that's what Alonso said.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had some engine thing, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And then, you know, with the Haas, it was just like, I don't get it. Like, it was weird how... You know, they were so strong. Him and Magnussen were in the top 10. They were both in the Q3.
Good. They were
going really well. Mick needed this to shut all the critics up. Like,
he did.
He really did need this.
Because I think he could wheel, you know.
He can. I think so.
He could wheel.
I think so. He's living behind his dad's legacy. Like,
which is, you living in the
shadow.
shadow.
You have the stress of that on you before you even take a green, you know? Like, it's one of those situations.
Not to mention, you start in a car that wasn't developed since 2019.
Yeah. Like
yeah.
So he needed it. He really did need it. And last year against Mazepin, he outright beat him.
He walked him.
So, you know, and he has Magnussen, who's one of the most experienced guys on the grid, as his teammate. So, you know, he's not going to beat him right away. Like, he's going to learn off him, and then he'll slowly pick away at him. And this weekend, it was one of those blow for blow with Mag, and he did a great weekend. And for him to break like that was just...
motorsport is cruel, bro.
It's
cruel.
Overwhelming and sad at the same time. Surprised. I gotta say, Hamilton, man, I was surprised for him.
He loves Canada, man.
Yeah,
he loves Canada. Like, Canada loves him right back.
I honestly thought, okay, he had a pretty good qualifying, but he's just gonna stick there. But he was moving. He was making passes.
Yeah,
he looked comfortable.
Even the restart, the final safety car.
Yeah,
because at that point.
He had the worst tires.
Red Bull was on the radio like, yo, watch Hamilton. He's got some serious pace, right? And ultimately, in the end, you know, it was a couple laps, 3, 4, 5, 6 laps, and then they kind of pulled off. But for a second there, it looked like it might have been a 3-horse race, you know?
Yeah, I think if they battled a little bit more right off the bat, Hamilton would have been in the DRS, and he would have been able to maybe stick with them a little bit longer. Just stick around and be there. But yeah, I think the Mercedes has definitely turned a corner, and I'm looking forward to Silverstone.
For everything that happened this weekend, I think it was great for Canada and for Formula One. Because, like I said, it's 350,000 people coming in there. Lets you show this sport is here. It's alive. It's thriving. It's growing. All the commentators, all the drivers, they love the city. Loved it, right? The weather, the Canadian weather, like it gave you the curveball that you expected.
In there,
You know? But at the end of the day, it was a dry race on Sunday, which is what we pay the money to see. And overall... I thought it was actually a good Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been a snoozer.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, Max got out the gate. Alonso just kind of faded away and was holding everybody else up. But then it was like VSC.
Yeah. Bringing it all back. Yeah. The pitch strategy, everything that kind of twisted everything.
I think it was good. And as we look forward to Silverstone, who knows, man? There was fireworks there last year. And that was where the momentum swung.
Yep. That's it right there. So I think, you know... Maybe we might see another repeat, but with maybe a red car and a Red Bull.
Yeah, we look forward to
seeing hit the Red Bull.
Coming up in a couple weeks, of course, you'll be able to check out another race weekend on YouTube and stream us live after Silverstone. For Darryl Timmers, Dames Nellas saying farewell, and we look forward to bringing you the next one.